The Bordas and Bordas hotline of the ILN Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Bob Pompeani at 412-575-2600. You can also tweet at KDPomp, at Gene Collier. Let's get to the lines. Jim in New Bethlehem, you are first up tonight. Hey, Jim.
Hey, good evening, Bob. Good evening, Gene.
Hey.
I'm a whole lot older than you are, but you talked about Duquesne and the last time they'd won so many games.
Right.
I remember when I was a young boy coming along, and Duquesne had Jim Tucker, Dave Ricketts, Dick Ricketts, Cy Hugo Green, and Mickey Winograd, and they took Kentucky before they had the NCAA tournaments. I know I'm old, I'm dating myself, but
no, but that's good. That's when they were thriving, and back in then there were the Nelson twins. I remember some of the best tournaments I ever saw were the Eastern 8 basketball tournaments, which were terrific. Jim, thank you for the call and taking us down memory lane. Gene, you remember those Eastern 8 things?
Well, no, that was before my time in Pittsburgh. But one thing I'm sure Jim remembers is Keith Dambrot's father played for Duquesne in the Glory.
He did.
Played against St. Bonaventure when they were ranked 1 and 2. He played in that game.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Huh? Well, hey, listen, if they could,
56,
I would love to see Duquesne become relevant in the Atlantic 10. This is a down year for basketball generally in this area. Pitt is certainly down. Robert Morris, Andy Toole's a good coach and has some, but this year may be a little bit of a struggle there. So if they could step up and do some good stuff in the Atlantic 10, that would be welcome news for sure. Let's go out to Bob in Clearfield. What's up, Bob? How are you?
Hi, gentlemen. Thanks for taking my call. I have a very simple question for you tonight.
Okay.
Among the 12 teams in the NFL playoff, who do you think could be the sleeper team among those teams? To me, the team that scares me the most is New Orleans.
That's my pick.
You have, he said, a couple of dual-purpose running backs that come out of the backfield. If you're the other team, if you don't have linebackers with defensive back speed covering them, it could be a very long day for you. So I'd just like to see what your opinion is on this.
Yeah,
Thank
Bob,
you
Bob, I said that last night when Cookie and I were talking about it. I thought that was the most intriguing team in there just because I think New Orleans, what happens, Gene, is they're not necessarily putting everything on Drew Brees. It's about Kamara, it's about Ingram, it's about a running game that's strong and makes him probably even more efficient if they do that in the playoffs because now you got to respect the run.
Well, he's a tremendous quarterback, and really any game that he's in, I think New Orleans can win. That's really the only candidate out there for a sleeper team, in my view. I mean, everyone else is kind of wary of teams, with the exception, I suppose, of the Bills and maybe the Titans. But yeah, I mean, they fit the bill if that's what you're looking for, the sleeper.
Let's go to line 4, Johnstown, Pennsylvania. It's the home of Richard. Hey, Richard.
Hi, how's it going? Thanks
What's
for
up?
taking my call. Hey, I just wanted to know your opinion on the Steelers' future at quarterback. Do you think Josh Dobbs has a future? Because one of your writers for KDKA just said the Steelers should draft in the first round for a quarterback.
Well, if they're to do that, I think they'd have to trade up a lot because they're not going to be in a position to get any of the guys they probably would like. But that's a good question, and hopefully it's one that they won't have to deal with in the next couple of years. Ben Roethlisberger still has 2 years left on a contract, Gene, but you have to start preparing at some point. What do you think of Dobbs?
Well, I really like Dobbs, and I think he did a really good job in the summer when they weren't ready to play Ben. I mean, he made some rookie mistakes, obviously, but I think he's good and he's really smart. He is a rocket scientist.
Literally.
Literally a rocket scientist. So I think Dobbs is one of those guys that, if he hangs around for a couple of years and waits his time, just waits for things to develop here, he could find himself in a quarterback battle with somebody who is as untested as he is, and he could win it depending on who that other person is. But I agree with Bob. I don't think the Steelers will be drafting a quarterback at 28 or wherever they're going to draft that is seen as the replacement for Ben Roethlisberger.
We'll see how that goes, but that's a story that will be written at the offseason. We have a tweet here from BD. Lefty Downs, he says, the Eastern 8 tourneys were great. I love going to watch Pitt, Duquesne, West Virginia, Penn State, Syracuse, Rutgers. That's right. It was the eastern part of the country, and they all played together in one conference, one league, and it was wonderful to see at the old Civic Arena, a lot of those games. So I kind of wish we still had those kind of rivalries going on. Mark in the North Hills. Hey, Mark, how are you?
Hey, guys. Great show.
Thanks.
I wanted to make a point about last night's show. You said Mike Mitchell. I mean, this guy is such a horrible player. I'm just totally against him. He gets beat constantly, day in and day out.
Let me stop you. Let me ask you one thing. Who would you put in there instead of him?
I mean,
you only have your own roster to deal with.
They don't have anyone.
Okay, well then that's your answer. That's why.
I mean, but they were going to cut him in in preseason, right? If I wasn't right, is that true?
No.
They weren't going to cut him?
No, they brought in J.J. Wilcox, but I don't think they knew what they were going to get necessarily from him other than special teams, and that's what he's been. But I don't think he ever was in danger of losing his job. And quite frankly, I think a lot of the stuff that we see is the product of corners getting beaten also.
Yeah, that's true.
He has to then, if he doesn't get over there quick enough, boom, then it's a big play.
Do you think he'll be here next year?
Well, I don't know. Does he have time left on the contract, Gene? Thanks for the call.
I think he does. I mean, I kind of agree with you, with Mike Mitchell, but not to that extent. I mean, he's not a great player, but they have a lot of faith in him. He makes some mistakes out there. He does some things I don't like, but as Bob said, who else you got?
Jerry in Hempfield joins us now on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Go ahead, Jerry.
Hey, Bob. Was that Paul Christ who coached Pitt one time?
Yep.
And he left for Wisconsin before the ink dried. Was that him?
Yep.
Okay. Now my question is this: he went to Wisconsin, and that team only had 4 wins. And then when he took over, they won 10 games, 11 games, and 13 games. Now, Pitt. Now, 3 years, same coach. You think they would be moving up because Wisconsin was bad too with 4 wins. So how do you compare this? I mean, that team he brought them up. And Pitt should be going up with this new coach. So can you explain what you think?
I think what I think is stability is key here, and that's why they signed him up again for an extension. We've seen 3 years of good statement wins. We've also seen some inconsistent play, Gene, especially defensively. So I still think it's a work in progress.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, Narduzzi's done the same thing here as Paul Christ did at Wisconsin. He came in, took over a terrible program, and improved them a lot. There was some backsliding this year, obviously, mostly due to some poor defense, as Bob mentioned. But that's as far as the comparison goes, I think.
All right, we have this on Twitter. Benjamin Pagani says, starting 5 freshmen, a smart rebuilding strategy for Pitt, ? They'll all be experienced in a few years, and it may bring success. Do you like that? I don't know that they have many other options, though, Gene. That's a good question.
There again, what are you going to do? They're missing their best player, Ryan Luther. They have, 10, 11 freshmen as it is. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it when you're in that.
Let's go to Derek in North Fayette. Hey, Derek, how are you tonight? Derek. Dawn, I'm sorry. We got Dawn.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Okay, how are you today?
Good, thanks.
I just had a question for you. We have Penguin tickets for the 14th.
Yeah.
But there's also a Steeler game on the 14th,
Correct.
and we were wondering maybe if they would change the Penguin game to 3 o'clock.
I don't.
And so,
that's happened before. At this point, someone else asked that, and I have not seen that game time change. So, unless that happens in the next couple days, Gene, I don't think it's going to.
Yeah, and 3 o'clock wouldn't help you. I mean, the Steelers aren't going to be over until about 4:20.
If you're going to do anything, you can make it a 7 o'clock
called
game.
the right place. I mean, if there's one guy who can get a game change, it's Bob Pompeani.
Yeah.
So thanks for calling.
Well, I'll call Selena Pompeani, and she has more of a chance to get that done.
Who better to call?
That's right. Mike, Tony, and Derek all coming up. We're going to take a break. It's 412-575-2600 right here as we continue with the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.